2 or a new DP. The fans await the excitement grows. Can't wait to see who Roto chose.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to another North End Podcast live stream here on a Monday afternoon. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him it has been less than 24 hours since we were live on this channel discussing the imminent arrival of Brandon Vazquez, and we get the green smoke. The press release this morning, Austin FC has a striker, has a new designated player. How you feeling, my friend?
Absolutely love it. You know, we were just waiting for the green smoke here. We knew it was coming down the pipeline, but I didn't want to count those chickens before they hatched, and here we are. We got our guy. Finally got our guy, and I am so excited about it.
Yeah, smiling ear to ear this morning here because, look, we know there's a lot going on with the rest of this team, specifically Sebastian Driussi, the rumors about his potential departure coming up over the weekend, and we will work some of that discussion in here on today's live stream. But, of course, the main focus here is Brandon Vazquez, and I guess where I want to start before we get to the chat and we check in on all of our friends who are here with us on this Monday afternoon, I have to begin with an apology, and an apology to our new DP, Brandon Vazquez, because throughout this saga over the last week, whether it is Instagram Reels, any graphics we post on social, the title, the initial title of this live stream, I've been spelling Brandon Vazquez incorrectly. It is Vazquez, not VAS. So look, we have it corrected. It's right in the sheets. It's right on the title. Thanks to the club for like putting out the actual press release and me realizing, wait, that's different. So apologies to Brandon. And I hope we can, after that rocky start, continue a beautiful relationship.
It wasn't official yet. You know what I mean? So like we were still on the unofficial books and everything, but here we go. We've been rectified. All is well.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead. Let's get to the chat here, and then let's get to the press release. I see P Mike in here. I see B. I see Eric in here again. Say, how do we feel about Driussi now? Leave or stay. We will get into that. My friend Reglis is in here. Yowler in here. Good to see Richard in here. Right. This is one of our North End faithful here. So it's a big get by Roto, domestic and not a Euro retirement. Driussi's exit is imminent. Let's see how he feels. The whole Jesse in here. We've got double Jessies again here in the North End. So our Raider on the Moon says Vamos. Ari's in here. Says start it. Flow Story in here. LTA said made me spell it wrong too. And Scott saying let's fucking go. Confirmed DP striker and email. We got more info on that live training event, which again, speaking about mistakes, I was getting excited at the end of yesterday's episode and I said that was next Sunday. It is 2 Sundays from now. January 19th will be that open training at Q2. So excited for that. Let's not waste any more time here. Let's get to the press release from the club and talk through this. Club record transfer fee. Tom Bogert did again report this morning that it is slightly north of $10 million for Brandon Vazquez. So I guess I want to start there. Now that I think you and I are locked in, Tommy Scoops has this report. He's got the number as close to correct as any of the sources that we have seen. So that, again, like we mentioned yesterday, it's a lot higher than the initial 6 million number that was reported on Saturday night. And I do think for me, the potential competition from other MLS clubs that were bidding on Brandon Vazquez, specifically San Jose, we know their name came up in rumors a few weeks ago, and the advantageous nature of this player when it comes to the roster rules, being a domestic, I think that is what probably caused a little bit of a bidding war here and makes Brandon Vazquez the club record signing. What are your thoughts here on that $10 million number coming in?
I mean, obviously the $6 million sounds nicer, but if that's what it took, if that's what it cost to get this done, then that's what it cost to get this done. As you mentioned, there had to have been a healthy amount of competition to acquire this man's services, given his age, given his profile, given everything that we know about how he fits on the roster. There had to be a bidding war of some sorts. Also, if the league is looking around, paying attention, doing their due diligence, you look at the Austin FC roster, there's no 9 in there. We just bought out Giassi. Everyone knew we had to get a 9 at some point in time. So I would assume that within negotiations, they would have known that we had a bit of desperation here, particularly the way, that Fafa fell through, the calls that all of the fan base has been making to go ahead and get one of these DP9 so that we can elevate this club. So I anticipate there was a very, very healthy competition to sign this man. And if it's a little north of 10 million is what it took to get this job done, I'm totally, totally fine with that. We've seen these numbers get inflated now, right? We heard the first Saba rumor, it was 6. Now we're seeing 9 for that. You've heard 12, I believe.
I saw one tweet that suggested 12.
So we're seeing that these numbers are getting much, much, much more high, like, grocery prices. So there's going to have to be some sort of reckoning on how much you're going to have to pay to go ahead and get high quality players in this league right now. And 10 million plus for Brandon Vazquez doesn't matter to me. I'm so happy he's here. This is absolutely stunning. I'm so amped.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I think everybody else, the general consensus is we're amped. And, I think 2 things. Number one, to your point, you got to pay for goals, at least in this league. You're buying these goals. And of course, it's up to the coach, the team, and the player ultimately to deliver those goals once we roll the ball out there in February. But also the length of this contract, because you get here, we had the report that he was tied to the club through 2028. That is the guaranteed portion of this contract. Vázquez will join the club on a guaranteed 4-year deal through the end of the 2028 season with an option for 2029. So he immediately becomes the player that is under contract the longest currently on the roster. This is the first player that has a guaranteed deal in the 2028 season and the first player that has an option for 2029. So I also think, I worry less about that larger fee than we expected initially, because this, again, we talked about moving a lot of chips in on Brandon Vazquez on yesterday's live episode, right? It's almost all in now on Brandon Vazquez. This is through 2029. This is through his age 30 season. So we are buying from Monterrey the entirety of the athletic prime on paper from Brandon Vazquez. And if he continues to even just slightly improve, again, he's going to be the best striker by far that we've ever had on this roster. And you expect him to come in and be among the top tier 9s in this league, no matter which team you're looking at.
I would absolutely anticipate that, and I would expect it, and we've talked about for so long, and this goes back beyond the offseason and everything, when we first got Roto in here and started making these moves. And when we started to see the writing on the wall, how much money was becoming open, how many roster spots were going to need to be filled and everything. And we were all waiting and anticipating to get to this point where we got the guy, right? This is the guy we're going to build around now, as you mentioned, the length of this contract. And something that gets me even more excited, right, is if it was somebody else that we hadn't heard of, but was still a fantastic player, right? What's this live stream going to consist of? Oh, we're pulling up his highlights, which we see, from plenty of guys that we've done with Bukari, it's Fatak Dessler, what have you here. But to know this name, have seen him in person, have seen him play, understand what he brings to a team, the goal scoring capabilities, the ability to put a little high press on, the size. I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about the size right now, 6'3", and he's a body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got some mass on him. He's got some weight. That's absolutely fantastic. The guy's a stud. So as far as it goes for me, this was as exciting as it could possibly get, taking into account the fact that I know the quality that Vázquez has, even though I didn't get to see him with Monterrey a lot this year, even though we saw him in the game and everything. But we saw what he's capable of, and 26 years old, still room to grow, still room to improve, still not in his athletic prime, in my opinion. He's probably going to get advance in that category as well. So this is the guy we're building the team around right now, particularly with all these other rumors swirling around 10. So let's go, baby, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, we saw him with Monterrey, but then also thinking back to the season opener against Cincy in 2022, you go watch those highlights, especially the ones the MLS puts out where they put a couple of the losing teams like they did not have much that day. Most of their highlights were like Brandon missing like goals he should have scored.
Yeah.
That was also the season he put up 18 goals, I think 18 and 8 or something like that. Like maybe even 20 plus. So I'm not super worried about that, but I do hope that like we hit the ground turning the Q2 stadium performances around, because he hasn't come in here like Jesus Ferreira or Ricardo Pepi in the 2 times he's been to Q2. Checking in on the chat here. We see Jesse saying, if he produces, we never discuss the price again.
For sure.
That is very fair. Mackie in here. Good to see Mackie. He says over 10 is not great when River seems to be only looking to pay 5 to 7 for Seba. And again, we can talk about Seba. It's like, I think the good thing there, if they want 5 to, they're offering 5 to 7. Okay. We don't have to sell. We don't have to.
Yeah.
Like Seba can sit around here and pout and bitch and moan and complain. He don't want to be here. But we do not have to sell for less than we want to settle for. Austin is still very much in control of that situation. LTA says bringing money into the league in general might be good on a macro level. Invest in MLS. And that's one thing, too, that jogs my memory. I saw some fans saying FC Cincinnati will get rewarded for this. They have a sell-on percentage from their initial sale to Monterrey. I don't believe, and we don't have confirmation of this, because as we get more transparency from the league, especially around allocation money, that's great. I don't think we know if they converted some of that $7.5 million fee that they got for selling Vázquez this time last year. It's actually January 10th was the official press release of his sale to Monterrey last year. If they took any GAM from that sale, then they cannot. I don't believe you can double dip on those sales. So they will get a fee, but I don't think it helps them cap wise for this season, just for what it's worth.
Also, who gives a shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't give a shit if Cincinnati got some extra money there. Like, whatever. He's on our team now. Like, that's all I care about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to Mackey's point there, right? Like, this getting done now means that we had this money ready to go, because the Seba deal is not done. It hasn't taken place yet. So like, this was already cooked into the books before that was even on the table here. So like, I'm not worried about $10 million. I'm not. Yeah. Of course, it's not my money, but like,
right. But like in the sense of like, oh, maybe we won't have enough money to get the plan done.
No,
right.
That's not the case.
Yeah, that's I think that's a great point, that it's the fact that this gets done before any potential Driussi exit or sale, rather. Like, that gives me even more confidence that Bogart's reporting yesterday that the team intends to replace Driussi with a third DP immediately in this transfer window. If that sale happens, like, that makes me all the more confident that that will come to pass, because this Vázquez move is clearly already budgeted before they move on from Driussi. Potentially move on from Driussi. Correct. We see Sarah in here. I think that's a new name, but welcome in, Sarah. And Jackson as well said the front office doing Moon Tower a solid on a Monday. Yeah, look, you can't curse the North End with the live stream technology, but if we can align with big Monday news, that helps every Austin FC fan out, because we all love the Moon Tower boys. Let's see, Jesse saying strikers, keepers, and CBs, their prime slides a few years later. Absolutely. Eric says, do we know his salary yet? If not, when do they release that? So that'll be released in April or early May, when the MLS Players Association drops all of the salaries on us. But from a roster build perspective, Ian, we can go ahead and switch over here to the northendpodcast.com, where we've got our salary cap and roster spreadsheets. From a salary perspective, and we don't have Ilie or Brandon Vazquez into the cap sheet itself yet, the salary cap estimates we have here for 2025. But we know that as a designated player, Brandon Vazquez, his cap hit is only going to be $743,750, as you see up at the top with those two DPs in Seba and Bukhari, and Julio as a TAM player going over that max TAM threshold for this coming season on his current contract. So his salary, like, if we want to discuss that, I think it's probably 1.5 to 2 million. A little bit of an increase from what he was getting in Monterrey, and a completely different universe from that Driussi. I would be shocked if we see a salary, an annual salary to any player for Austin going forward that's anywhere near that 6.7 million number. It's just not like, unless we are getting a guy who profiles as a top 4 or 5 player in the league, we're not going to pay anybody like that anymore. It's and especially now that Roto is here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the lingering Reyna deal.
Yeah, it is. And like, we have that option for next year on Seba. Like, what if he has a 12 game? It would not be as dire of a situation, nowhere near it, if he auto triggered for 2026, in the first 2 months of the season. But like, I think we should assume he has a crazy trigger in there, given the Reyna contracts.
Would absolutely assume it. I feel like it would be illogical not to if your other DP and Rigoni had one for just showing up 12 times a year.
Yeah, and maybe that also is a reason why Seba might be pushing for a move now. Again, this is me sliding on the tinfoil hat as I do from time to time. But if he knows that contract will auto trigger for 26 and he doesn't want to do 2 more years here, again, there are mechanisms to sell him on later, but that might be just a little bit of an extra, extra fuel to the fire for him to potentially exit here. So
could be.
See, Sarah says the problem is if Seba doesn't want to be here, he won't play as well as he could. Absolutely.
100%. Talked about it yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ari's saying Tom Bogert confirmed that there were no follow-on profits to FC Cincinnati in terms of the GAM. So looking at the roster slots here, we now have 3 senior slots open, 3 U22 slots open. Still got half of that supplemental roster to fill out, and 3 international slots. So like, you could just bing, 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 3 U22s and fill out the senior roster. I do not think that's how it is going to go for numerous reasons. Number one, these guys, U22s typically, if you're taking that swing, they're going to come with some sort of a transfer fee. And I just think there will be, as ambitious as this club clearly already is, and I think will continue to be through this window, that feels like a ceiling that is a little bit unattainable from like a players in standpoint and those international type of transfers, or like the fees that will come along with. Like, I expect one of those 3 slots to not be a U22, maybe a Max Tam guy, but like the Basard Sabovic rumor, right? Like, that guy's a free agent, no transfer fee. Like, that kind of stuff makes some sense for at least one of these senior roster slots. And we've talked about this at length over the last 8 months or so since we saw Matt Bersano on the supplemental roster with the salary that he was on that was above the limit. And we found that that rule in terms of the GAM buy downs here. So I went ahead and pulled this from the rule book again today because we can, I believe, create another senior roster slot if you're able to buy down a player who is making $208,000 of guaranteed compensation or less, because you can use allocation money to buy down a player's salary budget charge. This is not the one I wanted to look up. This is not the one I wanted to take. Let me pull this up once more, and we'll get to the right spot. This is live Austin FC content here.
These rules are so ridiculous. You got to find 100 different things.
Yeah, we'll go down to the buy down portion here of allocation money, and I will find it momentarily. Just give me a minute to find that actual rule, but I can describe it without seeing the actual text. If somebody is making less than $208,000, you can use that allocation rule or the buy down to buy down a player's guaranteed compensation to the lesser of $150,000 or 50% of their budget charge. So the senior minimum salary, which is what these supplemental players have to be making on the budget sheet to qualify, is 104, right? So that's where that 208 number comes in. If you spend 104 in allocation money on, or less than that, on somebody who's making 208,000 or less, our theory is you can put them on the supplemental because we can't see anything else in the rule book or the collective bargaining agreement that would let a team put Matt Bersano last year on the supplemental, as Roto did. So you look at the cap sheet and you see there are 2 players now, Guilherme Biru at $200K, Brendan Heinzike at $8 less on last year's guaranteed comp number that would fit that potential buy down to a supplemental slot. But I don't think it is customary just for Claudio Reyna contracts to have year-over-year increases. I imagine Roto is doing the same thing with some of these guys, and you
Mhm.
wouldn't have to take much of an increase on those two players' salaries from last season to get them over that 208 guaranteed comp number. So again, this is something that I think is still maybe a little bit far-fetched, but not impossible.
Yeah.
And there is a third player here with Jan Kolmanich, who is his contract extension kicks in at the beginning of this year. That is another salary that we do not know the number of. So right now we are estimating his salary hit at $350K, which was his salary on his U22 deal. But that hit, of course, with the U22, it's only $200K against the cap. So we're just estimating that at $350. But if he took a pay cut, which given the deals that Roto has made, like I don't think it's likely again, but I don't think it's impossible. He could also fit the bill if he was going down to 200, 205, something like that, of somebody we could put on the supplemental. But just trying to, again, think how we can farm more roster slots without, cutting or selling anybody else.
Yes, absolutely.
So then again, if Driussi goes out, you then have 4 more senior slots. You have another DP slot. So much has happened in the last week. And
Crazy.
yeah, we are just, it's still kind of seems like it could just be the beginning of this very active transfer window.
Right. You get that news that 10's being sold, and then we got to speculate on how we're filling that, where that money's going and everything. And like, again, fill these other roster spots out. But I'm with you there on the U22s because of the transfer fee stuff. I think we're going to be searching maybe for 1 or 2 that you're willing to pay for. You go ahead and get somebody who is a free agent, or look at these other players still left available here on the MLS free agents list and all that stuff. I know that you have that somewhere. But again, the names on that list are not very appetizing.
Yeah. So let me bring this up. I've got the rule that I was talking about just for good measure here. The use against a salary budget charge. Get a couple zooms for the folks tuned in here on the YouTube. A club can use general allocation money to reduce a player's salary budget charge to the lesser of 50% of that budget charge, or $150,000. This restriction does not apply where GAM is being used on a loan or transfer fee. A club may reduce 100% of a loan or transfer fee, which again, would love some transparency in those. Did we buy down Spot Talk's entire transfer fee last year? This is what I think about on a day-to-day basis. Last thing I want to look at here in the sheets, is the kind of year-by-year depth chart here. And you can see that Brandon Vazquez down there at the bottom in the strikers depth chart extends out to 2029 there. And we know his cap hit, right, relative to our salary budget because he is a designated player. But 2027, man, here are the players that we have locked in to start that year. Brandon Vazquez, Osman Bukhari, Mikel Dessler, Alexander Svatak, Owen Wolf, Micah Burton. Again, Micah Burton is very much on the fringes there. But those first 5, it feels like a damn good core for an MLS team. And that is 2027 Austin FC. So like the sustainability, again, these guys still have to go do it.
Yes.
The new coaching staff, the new players, it's Austin FC 2.0, right? Or 3.0, depending on who you're asking, right? But like, it's coming together. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see the vision playing out. And I thought that the statement that Brandon made about coming here and the future that he saw for this team, I think that has continuously been a big talking point for Roto, right? Because we're very young in our tenure as a club here. And like we've had the one outlier big time success season. But outside of that, we've missed the playoffs every other year, right? So like what's appealing about Austin right now? We know we're not a big market team. We're not one of those coastal teams that can really just on name value of the city go ahead and grab people. But what we keep seeing popping up, excuse me, is the vision. And I know that Roto is selling people on this. And I love that Brandon said that. And I know a lot of that stuff can be, kind of cookie cutter and everything like that. But we've seen it time and time again with the guys who are being pulled in here now. So I know that there's a plan going forward for this. And we're starting to see the foundation being laid for sustained success, which is what we wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see Yaller in here mentioning another thing I wanted to get to, saying the number 1 waiver position we just bought. Does that apply to active rosters next year and players waived or start immediately? Anyone know? So
we got you covered.
Clicking around tabs a minute ago. This is another one of the rules we pulled to talk about here today, because I guess before we get to the rule, in the transaction notes in the press release, after it talks about Vazquez, his acquisition, and the contract, it says, in order to ascend to the top of MLS's waiver order and complete the transaction, Austin traded $50K in 2025 GAM and $50K in 2026 GAM to San Jose, who was at the top of the waiver order. Now, why does that have to happen, you ask? Because returning players, a player returning to MLS who the league was unable to re-sign and his last MLS club does not wish to exercise the right of first refusal, FC Cincinnati, or who was previously terminated without going through waivers. I think that is previously terminated without going through waivers because he was sold. So the contract was terminated when he was sold, but he didn't go through that waiver process like any buyout guy does, like Emi Rigoni did, like Jassy Zardes did. Like, for example, like I think Emi Rigoni was still technically available in the end of year waivers process because I was looking at that list earlier today. But because Vazquez was a returning MLS veteran, that he goes on waivers. So Austin technically had to trade with San Jose, who was in on him in the negotiations. They had to say, we have to go up before San Jose to be able to claim this player. And San Jose was able to hold that spot hostage for a GAM return. Yes. I believe the league, in a case where San Jose just wanted to be super dicks and say, like $500,000, right? Yeah. Like, you're going to pay us. I believe the league has a cap that is $50K where they can force something like this, a waiver order, a discovery rights, something like that for the betterment of the league. Because again, remember, the league owns all of the teams. It's single entity. So it looks like they were able to get, or it doesn't look like, they were able to get $50K for the next 2 years in exchange for, giving up the top waiver slot so they couldn't take him and muck this whole thing up. So, not great. I'm not, in this specific instance, I am not a fan of that MLS mechanism, but I believe that is the explanation for what this trade was and why it happened.
Yeah. Who gives a shit? He's here.
Yeah. He's here.
Go Superman. Ahead, San Jose. Take your shekels.
Superman has landed. So checking back in on the chat here, E. We got more talk. We were talking. What's that?
Does he hit that cam celebration?
I don't know if he does the like opening up the Clark Kent jet. I think he does like the stance, like when Superman lands, he just does that. That's the kind of the picture you see after he scores goals. So like, and that's another thing too, dude. Is like I already saw. I think it's Joel Corral who does a lot of the awesome artwork, or Abstract Alberto. I think Los Verdes posted one of his. He already had Vazquez in All Verde doing the Superman thing. So we're going to have like that celebration when he scores at Q2. I
guess I practice.
Can we play the Superman theme song when he scores? Like, or can Lamurga do that? Like we could do a lot of things player specific, I think, with Vazquez here. This is a question I think E once answered. How is Leo still on the squad? That's another thing too, dude, right? Like we're talking all about these spots that are vacant right now. And of course, now we're discussing Driussi's potential departure, but like, we're not shocked if Leo gets sold. No. We're not shocked if John Kolmanich gets sold, right? Some of these other guys, and I think the Driussi rumors is also like backs up what Rodo said 18 months ago. Is like everybody's for sale for the right price. Like this is he's in charge of the business side. So we'll see if Leo starts the season or not here. If he's our CB4, then I don't think I'm like upset. It's just I know you and I feel some type of way about what happened at the end of last year.
Yeah, for sure. And if he wants to come in with a fresh attitude and try to change things around, I can't, be overly upset about that. Yeah. I think he had a tumultuous season. It ended terribly. But if you can't find anywhere for him to go and nobody wants him, there's worse options. I mean, we're playing fucking Alex Ring at center back before. So like, I would take Leo over that.
Yep. Yeah. And I see our buddy TJ in here. I did want to discuss this. 5 p.m. at the Fairmont downtown. If you are free and you want to go welcome Brandon Vazquez to Austin, it will be 5 p.m. at the Fairmont downtown. And Eric saying Leo getting paid way too much to be CB4, and brother, we are with you.
Yeah, no, as well as this roster has been pruned down and a lot of the excess fat has been cut, there are still some glaring numbers to look at. You see that Julio figure coming in as well, and that's a spicy number.
Yeah. LTA in here saying, is this sheet shared anywhere or did I miss that? LTA, you can go to thenorthendpodcast.com and you go up to the top. Look, we can just do it here. All together, we go to thenorthendpodcast.com. We click on salary cap and roster sheets up here in the top right corner, and boom, you got all the sheets there. And for what it's worth, when you go to those sheets, it is not just our roster slots, our cap sheet, and our year-by-year depth chart. We've also got some salary cap and free agency cliff notes here for everybody. We still have our 2024 sheets available for fans to peruse, and we do have Austin FC2 contracts listed as well. We will get that 2025 FCTO roster tab updated this week. One more thing I want to talk about here, E, from a cap perspective. After that Zardes buyout, again, our estimate here in terms of the total budget space available. So, like, we don't know how or to whom the targeted allocation money and the general allocation money is applied, but we know how much total space the team has to work with. And this also doesn't include the, 165K in additional GAM, I think, than we have from what we budgeted here from the annual allocation from the league. But so if you put in, like, we'll count Ilie as a max cap hit, right? He's not a TAM guy, but if we estimate he's that 743, 750, the max cap hit for 2025 now. And Brandon Vazquez with the same cap hit, that would give us right around 3.14 million. Again, not factoring in any potential contract increases and the like, but if we're anywhere, let's just take it down from 3.14 to 2.5 million in budget space. If we're anywhere close with that number and you sign 2 U22s, even just one, U22 takes 200K of cap space. I think if they're a little bit older, they can take 250. But, like, you take that away and then you have only 2 more senior roster slots, like, you've got all the space in the world to bring in a max TAM guy and then another solid, 3 to 500K type of guy, right? Like, it's just, there's still so much flexibility. It's exciting, man. It's crazy that we're, like, not anywhere close to done.
No, we're definitely not anywhere close to done. There's going to be plenty more stuff that pops up here and happens. Obviously, everyone's keeping their eyes on the Seva news right now, but there's a lot going on in the background. We've seen we've been tied to all kinds of names. Some have been debunked. Some have been, it's had fruition and everything come to life here. But, like, there's a lot going on. There's plenty of players that we're talking to, interested in, and some will be here.
Yeah, some will be here. That's absolutely correct. So, like, we also mentioned on yesterday's live episode that with Brandon Vazquez being a guy with continued U.S. men's national team aspirations, that it becomes even more paramount to have not just a serviceable backup 9, but one that comes in and that there's hopefully not much of a drop-off like you may have noticed in past years when we became even more shorthanded at a below-average striker position for Austin. So, like, can we get somebody on a supplemental, right? Probably going to be somebody that's already around the league. We talked about the free agent list on episode before last. Been so many streams and episodes the last 2 weeks. They're all kind of blurring together. So, like, again, it's not a ton that you love here. Like, I think Mason Toy to come in and mix it up with Diego Rubio there, that would make some sense, but I don't think he's coming on a supplemental type of salary. Hey, like, he's like freaking 40. So we would just be bringing the average age right back up again. But, like, I don't think I hate Kai Kamara on a supplemental to be the third string in that instance. But, like, 10 minutes of Kai at the end of a game where you need a goal, like, we've had worse. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I thought you were going to say Rui Diaz.
I mean, if he wants to come on a supplement, I mean, I think maybe even if we took him on a senior slot, if somebody else was going out, maybe. I don't know if he's going to stick around MLS though. I'm not sure.
I mean, yeah, maybe we've just been so desensitized to 34-year-old plus strikers that neither of those names are scaring us too much. But you know, I have a special place in my heart for Rui Diaz and Kai Kamara as well.
Absolutely. So we also have the re-entry eligibility list. There is one name here that I think makes some sense on a supplemental, and that's Mackenzie Gaines, right? Bring our Prince home. Yeah, so then I told you he was on that list. Well, he's already with Leon, so he's Jorge's problem now exclusively. Mackenzie Gaines out of contract, right? If you can get him on a supplemental to be your 5th or 6th winger, right? Like I'm fine with that. And again, I think we need to start filling out some of those supplemental slots because we don't have enough homegrowns yet to fill that out. And I think it's worth it to pick up some of those depth options. So again, he just grabs he's eye-catching because he's our boy. He's from the area. He's played here before. And I don't think the demand for Mackenzie Gaines is that high. So I think if they wanted to get somebody like that, it can be done. But we'll see. I mean, I do hope they aim higher for this potential backup 9 slot, but did just want to bring up those lists right there.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a very pretty list there. I don't think I'd be too upset about, either Levante Johnson or Bobby Wood, on some sort of really nice contract. But again, we're just, I think
I'd rather Levante. Here. I think I'd rather Levante because, first of all, you and I like that kid. Right? When he played I think he played once against us with Vancouver, and we were impressed. But he's a lot younger than Bobby Wood, and I also think would definitely command a more supplemental type of salary than even the aging Bobby Wood would.
For sure.
So I think that's about all I have here today. We're just shy of 40 minutes on the Brandon Vazquez Green Smoke live stream. Checking in on the chat. Yeah, they're saying at least Leo is not Amro Tarek. And yeah,
come on,
absolutely.
Man. I'd forgotten that name, dude. I had totally forgotten that he existed, was born into this world just to ruin my life.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Tex Rex in here says, guys, just want to thank y'all live for what you do for the rest of the fans. We're thirsty and y'all help quench the thirst year round, week to week. Much appreciated. We appreciate you, Tex Rex, everybody else that has popped in here, or if you're listening on the replay. And look, it's a lot more fun for all of us when shit is like this, right? Yeah, and like we may have kind of a somewhat somber stream coming up if Driussi indeed does leave, but like the rest of this shit, how has it only been a week since we were like bummed out that we weren't getting Fafa fucking Pico? And now, dude, go play with Messi. All right, bro.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Good for you. Same with you, Abobasi. We'll see ya.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Tex Rex said bring Kai in the 90th. Jesse likes Mackenzie Gaines. Roto might have no nostalgia. He has zero nostalgia for Mackenzie Gaines. He would only be bringing him because he would be a guy that wouldn't count against the cap and would be solid MLS veteran depth at this point. And our Austin boy, maybe he could sprinkle a little bit in there. Roto has a heart too. Eric says still misses Gabrielson. All of us do. And Brian said Wayne's World. My guys. These are my guys. Jesse saying this is way more exciting than who's bringing what to Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on. We got hard on that.
You're scraping the bottom of the barrel at the end of November, beginning of January. A different story. And our boy Tex Constant Craig in here saying Roto started this meal with fancy oysters and baller champagne. Can't wait to see what the other courses are. And so I guess with that, anything else for you as we shut it down here on our Monday afternoon? New designated player in Austin. Yeah, there you go. A little Superman victory celebration for E. And I hope we get to see many, many more of those over the next 4+ years. All right, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us, whether you caught us live on YouTube or on the replay. Maybe we're back for another emergency live stream this week, but if we're not, we will be back on Sunday with our regularly scheduled episode of the North End podcast, recapping everything that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. We'll do the same, and we'll see you back here on Sunday for another episode of the North End podcast. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Green Smoke song.
Green smoke, green smoke. Oh boy, who could it be? Maybe you 22 or a new day thing. Fans await, the excitement grows. Can't wait to see who Roto chose. Green smoke. Oh boy, who could it be? Maybe you or a new DB. The fans await the excitement grows. Can't wait to see who Roto chose.